I see you, I appreciate you, and I'm thankful you subscribe and keep showing up. This space is built on your insights. Leave your thoughts and lessons below. Now, cue the tension, cue the truth, let's get into it. Before you get pulled into this story, hold on to one practical boundary. If someone ends a marriage by text and expects you to keep funding their comfort while they figure themselves out, that is not honesty. It is a test of how much disrespect you will subsidize. The decision point comes fast, and it feels cruel either way. But cruel is often just a sound of boundaries slamming shut after years of being left open. If you've ever watched someone test how much they can take from you, emotionally, financially, or both, stay with me. And before we get into what I did after that text, hit like so this story reaches the people who need a boundary reminder. Share it with a friend who keeps overgiving. And subscribe if you want more real, narrated relationship dramas that don't sugarcoat the consequences. The message came in at 11:17 a.m., right when my screen was crowded with numbers and my coffee had gone cold. I found someone else. Just accept it. It was from my wife, Celine. 10 words, a period, and the certainty of someone tossing a coat onto a chair they do not plan to use again. I stared at it long enough that my office lights seemed louder. My thumb hovered. Then I typed one word. Finally. I did not add punctuation. I did not ask who. I did not ask why. I wish I could tell you that finally was a clever line I rehearsed. It was not. It was a release of pressure I had been pretending was normal. My chest loosened like a not giving up. I sat back in my chair and looked past the window at the gray Milwaukee sky, the kind that makes Lake Michigan look like a sheet of dull metal. For months, I had been walking around with a sense that I was financing a life that no longer included me. Her text did not create the truth. It just stopped hiding it. I was 37. I worked in municipal finance, the kind of job where people assume you're boring until they need you. I liked the predictability. I liked knowing what would happen if a rate moved a quarter of a point. Celine once told me, you treat emotions like spreadsheets. I told myself she meant it as teasing. But the last year of our marriage had trained me to be quiet and careful, because anything I said could be filed away and used later, like evidence in a case she was always building. Celine and I met at a Juneteenth fundraiser in 2019, outside a community center that smelled like barbecue and floor polish. She wore a yellow dress and a look that made people straighten their posture. She talked fast, decisive, as if the world was already behind schedule. I liked that she knew what she wanted. I liked that she asked me questions and actually listened to the answers. When I proposed 2 years later, she cried and laughed at the same time, and my mother said she had never seen me glow like that. The shift did not happen overnight. It never does. It happened in small corrections. Why do you always check prices? She would say at the grocery store, loud enough for a stranger to hear. It is embarrassing. Or, your suit is fine, but you could look sharper if you tried. Then it became a comparison. Her cousin's husband took her cousin to Napa. A friend's boyfriend surprised her with concert tickets. Celine said these things the way a weather report states rain. Not accusing, just implying you should have prepared. We lived in a duplex near Washington Heights. Tree-lined streets and old brick, a neighborhood where you can hear lawnmowers in summer and snow shovels in winter. The upstairs neighbor played gospel music on Saturday mornings. Celine complained about it, but she never introduced herself. I paid the mortgage. Celine contributed when her work was steady. She was a freelance event stylist, weddings, corporate dinners, baby showers. Her talent was real. Her income was unpredictable. I told myself that marriage meant smoothing out the unpredictability. There were also the small rituals that made us seem fine. Every Sunday, I played spades with my Uncle Vernon at a diner off North Avenue. Celine rarely came, but she liked the diner's cinnamon rolls and sometimes asked me to bring one back. She collected vintage Pyrex bowls, turquoise, orange, patterns like fireworks, and lined them up on open shelves like trophies. When she was happy, she would hum while she rearranged them. When she was unhappy, she would rearrange them harder, like the bowls had offended her. The first time I realized I was afraid of her mood, it was over something ridiculous. I bought a small blue toolbox at a flea market, the same kind my grandfather carried when he fixed neighbors' porches. I put it on a shelf in the hallway closet. Celine saw it and said, "Why do you bring junk into my house?" My house, not ours. I laughed like it was a joke, then felt my face heat when she did not laugh back. Later, she apologized in a flat voice and asked if I was done sulking. I told myself I was being sensitive. The second time was not ridiculous. It was when I noticed she started taking phone calls outside, even in February, wrapped in a coat by the back steps while her breath turned to fog. When she came back in, she was bright and energetic in a way she was not with me. If I asked who she was talking to, she would say, "A client," like my curiosity was a personal flaw. I made my first real decision then. I chose not to look through her phone. I told myself trust mattered. I also knew, deep down, that I was avoiding what I might find. By spring, she had a new gym routine and new playlists she did not share. By summer, she had started calling my work "your little office," which would have been funny if she did not say it when she wanted to cut me down. She was still affectionate sometimes, still capable of soft moments. That was the part that kept me hooked. On good days, she would touch my shoulder in the kitchen and ask me to taste sauce from a spoon. On bad days, she would walk past me like I was furniture. The money arrangement grew without a conversation. My card paid for the streaming services, the phone plan, the car insurance, the grocery deliveries. Celine would say, "I will get you back," the way people say they will call you tomorrow when they already know they will not. If I brought it up, she would frame it as a character problem in me. "You act like we are roommates," she said once, flipping her hair away from her face. "Do you want to be my husband or my accountant?" I backed down because I wanted to be her husband. The text arrived on a Tuesday in late October. The leaves outside the office were damp and stuck to the sidewalk like flattened copper. I had just come out of a meeting about refinancing bonds for a school district. My phone buzzed. I read the message once, then again. I felt a strange calm, as if a movie had finally reached the scene everyone saw coming. Celine had chosen the cleanest, cruelest delivery method. A text lets you avoid a face. A text lets you pretend the other person is not real. I did not cry. I did not shout. I opened my calendar and canceled the dinner reservation we had for Friday. Then I pulled up the accounts I managed one by one, the way I reconcile statements at the end of a quarter. This was my second decision. I could have confronted her first, demanded a conversation, and tried to negotiate. Instead, I chose action over argument, not because I wanted revenge, because the marriage, as she described in that message, was already over, and I was tired of being the only one honoring it. I started with the joint account, the one we use for household bills. My paycheck went there, then I moved money into savings and investments. Celine had her own account that I did not touch. I transferred my portion out and left enough to cover pending charges that were already in motion. I was not interested in chaos. I was interested in clean lines. Then I changed the direct deposit at my job to a personal account Celine did not have access to. I called the bank and removed her as an authorized user on the credit card. Next came the subscriptions and small supports that never feel small when they vanish. I canceled the grocery delivery membership. I removed my payment method from her phone plan. I froze the gym membership attached to my card. I updated passwords on any shared accounts tied to my identity. Utilities, cloud storage, even the Wi-Fi. I did not change the locks. That would have been messy. But I did pack a bag and take my laptop and my grandfather's blue toolbox, because it was mine, and I did not trust her temper once she realized the ground had shifted. That night, I stayed on my friend Daryl's couch in Bayview. Daryl is a barber who listens more than he talks, the kind of man who sweeps hair off the floor like he is sweeping stress out of the room. His apartment smelled like aftershave and lemon cleaner. We watched the basketball game on mute. Around midnight, my phone lit up with Celine's name. "Why is my phone acting weird?" she texted, and my grocery order declined. "Did you do something?" A second message came a minute later. "This is petty." I did not respond. I watched the typing bubble appear and vanish. Then, "Answer me, Marcus." Marcus. My name felt like a tool she picked up when she needed it. I put my phone face down. I stared at the ceiling and noticed something uncomfortable. My body felt lighter without the obligation to fix or panic. That scared me a little. It meant the love I thought I had might have already drained away, and I had been living in a habit. The next morning at work, I tried to act normal. I delivered a presentation without stumbling. I joked politely in the hallway. Then I went to the restroom, locked myself in a stall, and breathed through a wave of shame. Not ashamed that she cheated. I did not know the details yet. Shame that I had tolerated the slow disrespect for so long that her text felt like closure. I looked at myself in the mirror afterward and saw a man who had been bracing for impact for months, pretending it was posture. Celine escalated by afternoon. Emails came, subject line swinging between accusation and appeal. You are financially abusive. We need to talk like adults. You cannot just abandon me. Then a voice note. Her voice sharp, controlled, as if she was performing outrage. You are proving exactly why I needed someone else, she said. You are cold. I listened once, then deleted it. I took screenshot of everything and saved them to a folder labeled October. I did not know yet if I would need them, but I had learned that Celine rewrote reality whenever it benefited her. On day 3, a number with a 414 area code called twice. I ignored it. It left a voicemail. Professional tone. Careful words. Mr. Lang, this is Attorney Holbrook. I represent Ms. Rivers. Please return my call regarding urgent concerns about shared financial arrangements. Shared. Arrangements. The phrasing was designed to make our marriage sound like a contract I was violating. I sat in my car after work, hands on the steering wheel, and felt anger finally show up, not loud but steady. I made my third decision point then. I could ignore the lawyer completely and let Celine spin. Or I could respond in a controlled way and take away the illusion of leverage. I called back once. We are married, I said, but we do not have shared assets beyond the joint bills account, which I funded. Her name is not on the mortgage. Her car is in her name. What legal claim are you making? There was a pause. Holbrook asked if I was willing to meet to resolve this amicably. I said, put everything in writing. When I got home, Daryl's couch was still home for the moment. I found an email from Celine that sounded like she had borrowed someone else's vocabulary. I am requesting transitional support while I stabilize, she wrote, listing rent, utilities, phone, groceries, and wellness expenses. Wellness expenses. I laughed once, not because it was funny, but because it was revealing. Celine was not asking for repair. She was asking for a new version of the same arrangement. Me paying, her doing whatever she wanted, and calling it partnership. I replied with 4 sentences. Your text ended our relationship. I will not provide ongoing financial support. Please direct communication through your attorney. I will coordinate for you to retrieve personal items. Then I blocked her number again, even though I knew she would find other paths. Blocking is not closure. It is just reducing noise. I wanted to hear my own thoughts for once. I wanted silence long enough to realize what I actually felt, not what I was supposed to feel. The lawyer's next email was shorter and softer. Questions instead of demands. Was there a written agreement about support? Had I promised to cover expenses if she left work? Were wedding-related deposits refundable? That last question stabbed me. We had a vow renewal plan for December. Nothing extravagant. Just a small ceremony at our church because we got married at the courthouse during the pandemic. Celine had insisted we do it right later. I had already put down deposits for the pastor's time, a photographer, a caterer who made incredible smoked turkey. I went to the church that Saturday, not for service, but to sit in the empty sanctuary and think. The building was quiet except for a heater clicking on and off. I sat in the back pew, hands clasped, and felt grief coming like a slow tide. Not grief for Celine exactly. Grief for the man I was when I believed love could be earned by absorbing. Grief for the version of marriage I kept trying to build alone. I looked at the stained glass window and realized I had been praying for endurance when I should have been praying for clarity. That afternoon, I returned to the duplex while Celine was out. I moved slowly, like a guest in my own life. I took my clothes, my documents, and a framed photo of my mother and father at their anniversary dinner. I photographed the rooms. The Pyrex bowls sat on the shelves, bright and orderly, pretending nothing had happened. In the bedroom, I saw a new men's cologne on the dresser that I did not recognize. Something woodsy and expensive. I did not touch it. I just photographed it too, then walked out and left my key on the kitchen counter. Celine found out I had moved for real when she came home to an empty half of the closet. She emailed me, subject line in all caps. "You cannot do this." The body was a mix of threats and hurt. "You are my husband. You cannot just disappear. People will hear about this." That line, "people will hear," was a clue. Celine cared deeply about narrative. She could live with pain if she could frame it as someone else's fault. What she could not tolerate was looking foolish, especially if it happened publicly. The someone else did not stay invisible for long. A week after the text, I ran into Celine's cousin Brielle at a corner store near Midtown Center. Brielle was buying lottery tickets and milk. She stared at me like I was a headline. "So you really cut her off?" she asked. I said, "Celine ended the marriage." Brielle's mouth tightened. She said, "You were controlling." I held her gaze. "Control is when you take without consent," I said. "Boundaries are when you stop giving." Brielle looked away, embarrassed, and mumbled something about needing to get home. Celine's post started that same week. Vague paragraphs about men who cannot handle honesty. Quotes about walking away from emotional manipulation. Photos of her face angled toward a window, eyes glossy but not crying. She did not name me, but she did not need to. Mutual friends messaged. "Are you okay? What happened?" Some sounded concerned. Some sounded curious. I answered two people with the same sentence. Celine ended the marriage by text. Then I stopped responding. If someone wanted drama, my calm would starve it. I canceled the vow renewal deposits on a Tuesday morning while eating oatmeal at my desk. The caterer refunded half. The photographer kept a retainer. The church returned the facility fee, but not the planning deposit. Each cancellation felt like tearing a thread out of fabric. It was clean, but still painful. When my coworker Tasha asked if I wanted to grab lunch, I almost said no out of reflex, then said yes. We went to a small diner where the waitress called everyone honey in a tired voice. I ate fries and realized I had not tasted food properly in days. Celine tried a different angle. She showed up at my mother's house in Wauwatosa. My mother told me later that Celine arrived with a grocery store bouquet and a quiet voice. "I just want to fix things," Celine said. My mother offered her water, but did not invite her to sit. My mother is polite, but she is not easily moved by performance. She asked Celine one question. "Did you tell my son you found someone else?" Celine hesitated, then said, "I was upset." My mother replied, "Upset people still choose their words." Then she closed the door gently. When my mother told me, I felt gratitude so sharp it almost hurt. Meanwhile, the practical consequences began landing on Celine one by one, like overdue bills arriving at the same mailbox. Her phone plan lapsed. She had to go to a carrier store and set up her own account. She posted online about starting over with a new number. Her gym membership froze. She complained to a friend at a coffee shop, loud enough that someone glanced over. The biggest hit was transportation. I had removed her from the insurance policy. She did not notice until she got pulled over for a broken taillight, and the officer asked for proof of insurance. She texted me from another number afterward. This could have got me in serious trouble. I did not respond, but I did feel a flicker of guilt because I did not want her harmed. Then I reminded myself of the actual sequence. She chose to leave. She chose to announce another person. She chose to treat our marriage like an inconvenience. My responsibility was to end the financial entanglement responsibly, not to cushion her from reality forever. I emailed her attorney and offered one compromise. I would keep her on insurance for 14 days if she reimbursed the premium and signed a document stating she accepted full responsibility afterward. The attorney declined. That told me Celine did not want solutions. She wanted compliance. The other man appeared in periphery, like a shadow Celine had been trying to pretend was a new sunrise. His name, I learned, was Andre. He worked sales at a dealership in the suburbs. Celine brought him to a friend's birthday dinner at a restaurant with low lighting and loud music, as if introducing him would make the situation official and therefore justified. A mutual friend told me Andre looked uncomfortable when Celine complained about her ex not paying her bills. That detail stuck with me. Even if Andre had enjoyed the attention, he did not enjoy the responsibility. Celine was learning the difference in real time. 2 weeks after the text, Celine's attorney emailed a letter that sounded stern but said very little. It mentioned marital reliance and disruption of standard of living. It did not name any specific asset I had taken that belonged to her. It did not demand a court date. It floated the idea of mediation again. My own attorney, a careful woman named Janice Odom, read it and said, "This is posturing." She told me to respond once, plainly, and then stop engaging. I did. I am not refusing fairness. I wrote, I am refusing to be obligated by threats. The first time I heard Celine's voice again, it was not through a voicemail. It was through the thin wall of Daryl's barbershop on a Friday afternoon. I was waiting for a lineup when Daryl's receptionist whispered, "Marcus, she is outside." I looked up and saw Celine through the front window, standing on the sidewalk as if she belonged there. She wore a camel coat and lipstick too bright for the cloudy day. She stepped in when a customer left, eyes fixed on me. "We need to talk," she said, like she was ordering food. I stood slowly, not because I was afraid, but because I wanted to be deliberate. The shop smelled like clipper oil and peppermint. Clippers buzzed. A kid in the waiting area stared at us with wide eyes. Celine glanced around, realizing she did not control this room. "Not here," she said, softer. 5 minutes. Outside. I made my fourth decision point. I could have refused and escalated her embarrassment, or I could step outside, keep it short, and end the possibility of her claiming I avoided her. I chose outside for 5 minutes, with Daryl watching through the glass. Celine started with indignation. "You are acting like I am nothing," she said. I answered, "You told me you found someone else." She waved a hand. I was angry. I did not think you would actually leave. That sentence landed heavier than any insult. It was her honest truth. She expected my presence to be permanent, even if her respect was not. She leaned closer. "Andre was a mistake," she said quickly, as if speed could undo choices. I was confused. "You know I love you." I said, "Love does not come with an invoice." Her face tightened. "So you are punishing me," she said. I shook my head. "Consequences are not punishment," I replied. "They are the result of decisions." Celine's eyes flashed. "You think you are so righteous," she snapped. "You just want to look like the good guy." I almost laughed, because she still believed life was a stage. I said, "I do not need to look like anything. I need peace." She scoffed. Then her voice cracked at the edges. "I am struggling," she admitted. "I need help." I said, "Then get help, but not from me." She stared at me, waiting for the part where I softened. When I did not, her expression shifted into something like fear. "You cannot just throw away 4 years," she whispered. I said, "You threw it away with 10 words. That was the only sharp thing I said. It felt like biting down on metal. Celine blinked hard, then turned her head as if she could not let me see her face. "You are cold," she said. I answered, "I am done." Then I walked back inside without slamming the door, because I did not want drama to be the last thing we shared. That night, a new number texted me. "I never thought you would actually leave." I stared at it for a long time, not because I wanted to reply, because it explained so much of our marriage. Celine treated my stability like a natural resource she was entitled to draw from. She could drain it, criticize it, ignore it, and it would still be there. My leaving was not just heartbreak to her. It was disbelief. I saved the message to the same folder as the others and blocked the number. Over the next month, the fallout turned quiet and logistical. Celine scheduled a time to pick up her things from a storage unit where I had placed the items she left. Her winter coats, her pirate's bowls wrapped carefully, her makeup mirror, boxes of event supplies labeled in her handwriting. I was not trying to erase her. I was trying to end the overlap. Janice advised me to have a witness. Daryl came with me. Celine arrived with Brielle and a tired-looking Andre. Andre avoided my eyes. Celine did not. Celine tried small talk while loading boxes. "Are you still working downtown?" she asked, like we were neighbors discussing trash day. I gave short answers. Brielle kept sighing dramatically, as if we were all supposed to acknowledge Celine's suffering. Andre lifted a box and said quietly, "Where do you want this?" Celine snapped at him. "Just put it in the trunk." He flinched. At that moment, I saw what he was seeing. This was not romance. This was a person who needed someone to carry her consequences. Andre looked at the ground and did not argue, which told me he was already thinking about exit routes. After they left, I sat in my car and finally let myself feel the full weight. My hands shook on the steering wheel. I did not miss Celine's voice. I missed the idea that my life had a partner who chose me. I grieved the illusion. I called my Uncle Vernon and told him I would be at the diner Sunday. "Bring your appetite," he said, not asking questions, because in our family that is how love sometimes sounds. That Sunday, the diner smelled like coffee and fried onions. Vernon dealt cards and said, "Tell me what you learned." I said, "I learned I kept paying for my own disrespect." I moved into a smaller apartment near the lakefront, a place with creaky floors and a view of bare trees in winter. I set the blue toolbox on a shelf in the closet, like a marker of reclaimed space. I cooked simple meals for myself. Simple meals. I cleaned without resentment because there was no one behind me complaining about how I folded towels. My expenses dropped. My breathing slowed. Then, unexpectedly, loneliness came, not for Celine, but for routine. I would reach for my phone at night and remember there was no one to update. That emptiness was real, but it was honest emptiness, not the crowded emptiness of being with someone who treated you like a resource. In December, I attended a holiday service at the church alone. The choir sang too loud, and the drums echoed off the walls. I sat near the back and felt tears in my eyes, not because I wanted Celine back, but because the season had been mapped out with her in it. I walked home through cold air that smelled like snow. My phone buzzed with a message from a mutual friend. "Celine says you blindsided her." I typed and erased 3 responses, then made my 5th decision point. I chose not to defend myself. I wrote, "I hope she finds peace," and put my phone away. My truth did not need a campaign. By January, Andre was gone from Celine's orbit. I heard it from Brielle, who muttered about men these days while picking up her own hair appointment from Daryl. Daryl raised an eyebrow at me in the mirror. I shrugged. The pattern was predictable. Celine wanted freedom with coverage. Andre wanted excitement without responsibility. When the bills arrived, the fantasy collapsed. Celine took a part-time job at a catering company and started posting about grinding and resetting. I felt no pleasure in that. I felt distant. I wanted her safe. I just did not want her attached to me. The divorce itself moved slowly, like paperwork always does. Wisconsin required waiting periods and forms and patience. Celine's attorney tried one last time to negotiate support, then dropped it when Janice requested proof of need and proof of my obligation. We divided nothing because there was nothing to divide. The mortgage was mine, her car was hers, and our joint account had been cleaned up with documentation. The most painful division was symbolic. Photos, holiday ornaments, a set of dishes we bought on our first anniversary. I kept one thing, the framed photo of my parents, because I needed a reminder of what steady love looks like. Looking back, the text was not the worst moment. The worst moment was realizing how much I had trained myself to accept. The best moment was smaller than people expect. It was standing in Daryl's barbershop, hearing clippers buzz and saying no without raising my voice. If you take anything from this story, take that. Endings do not always come with shouting. Sometimes they come with one word, finally, and a series of calm, documented choices that protect your future from someone else's entitlement. If you made it to the end, Tell me this. Was finally cold or was it clarity? Drop your take in the comments. And if you want more stories like this, messy, human, and real consequences, please like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. The end.